Hey, can you grab me a bag of chips? Only if you tell me more Little Steve stories. You can't just grab me the bag of chips, Sam. Every time. It's payment for the chips. Little Steve story. Let's go. It was 1942. Of course, one of the best years. Can you let me tell the story so I can get my chips, please? Okay, go ahead. Thank you. It was 1942. Steve and I were Christmas shopping because we were having a big family party at my house. This cashier lady was there. She was very nice, by the way. So I started flirting with her, but then Steve disappeared. I figured he probably just went off to, find a gift or something, but I could not find him anywhere. So instead of looking for him, I just told the cashier woman that I lost my child, and she made an announcement over the store intercom. You told her you lost your kid? Yep, true story. That earned you 2 bags of chips. Hi. Can you knock next time? This came from my daily dose of Little Steve stories. That's great, but I'm in the middle of trying to finish reading Lord of the Rings right now. Little Steve stories. My favorite part of the day. Back when we lived in Brooklyn, there was this diner that we used to go to all the time. The 2 of us were regulars there. We would usually go on Sunday mornings for breakfast. But almost every time we went, there would be at least one person asking if Steve would want a kids menu. Steve would always get so upset about it, but I'd always say, yes, of course, please give my child the kids menu, and with some crayons. And that always earned me a side eye from Steve as we headed to our table. But it's alright, because I would always do the mazes or the crossword puzzles while Steve looked at the menu. I would get the same thing every time, which was a large stack of pancakes. And Steve would usually order a plate of scrambled eggs, bacon, and toast, and a giant glass of chocolate milk. He would always say something to me about how it was all a part of his plan to bulk up so that it would help him enlist in the army because he had to start eating right to get the spot and blah, 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 blah. But I could never pay attention to what he was saying because I was always too focused on finishing coloring my penguin wearing a knitted hat. So Steve was trying to talk to you about enlisting and you were just coloring a kid's menu. Oh, it was nothing new. I swear I had to put a leash on that kid because he was constantly trying to enlist in the army every time we went out somewhere, but it was alright. I had a whole scrapbook full of all the coloring pages that I colored in when I went out to breakfast with Steve, so it was nice. You scrapbook? It's relaxing, okay? So what actually happened during Steve's 1940s birthday party? It's not as bad as he's making it out to be. You and I remember that day very differently, Buck. Hang on. Was this pre-serum or post-serum? Pre-serum. Oh, Little Steve story time. Go. Alright. So I planned a surprise party. All of our friends were at my house for the surprise party, but I had to keep Steve distracted so we wouldn't find out what was going on. So I took him to Central Park, and he absolutely hated it. The whole time he just kept complaining how he just wanted to relax on his birthday and just wanted to read his book back home out of the sun, but I knew he was just gonna go to his apartment and mope around. No, I wasn't complaining. I was asking politely. It was complaining. Now come on, Steve. Don't interrupt the Little Steve story. The story's about me, and I'm the storyteller. Anyways, I ended up taking a nap, and when I woke up, Steve was just gone. Of course, I knew where he went, enlisting, again. But the reason the party was the worst was because I lost track of time. So we got back to my apartment, and my sister was there, and everyone had eaten the cake and left already because we were taking too long. Honestly, I think Steve secretly liked it because he always hated parties, so it kind of worked out in his favor. I just like holding it over your head. Nothing beats the battlefield birthday cake, though. You remember that? We made it out of, mud and sticks and rocks, just like we were kids again. Good times. Hey, no, Sam. Oh, come on. It's been a while since I've asked for a Little Steve story. Come on, Buck, you promised. All right, fine. We set the scene. It was 1940s. We were in Central Park. Usually, whenever both of us were free, we would take walks through the park to hang out, spend the day together. And for whatever reason, this particular day, Steve brought extra cash with him. He said something about how he wanted to buy balloons for the little kids. So we found the balloon guy and Steve gave him the cash. The balloon guy let Steve pick the colors he wanted, but I think we all underestimated Steve's weight because when he grabbed the balloons, he immediately began to float away. The balloon guy and I were in a deep conversation at the time, so I didn't notice until Steve was about 20 feet in the air. I chased him for blocks as he floated through Central Park and down the city streets. He eventually got so high up that the balloons got tangled on top of the buildings, and I was able to run up the stairs and meet him on the roof. There is no way that happened. I'm telling you, this is a true story. There's no way. Are you telling him about the balloon story? Yep. No, really, Sam. It happened. I don't believe it. Happy Halloween! Yeah, my favorite holiday. What are you going as, the annoying next door neighbor? Haha, very funny. I came to ask for another Little Steve story. Really, Sam, on Halloween? Oh, come on, now's like the best time to ask. I'm sure you've got some cool Halloween story about Steve. Alright, okay, yeah, I do have a good one. Okay. So it was Halloween, 1941. Steve never really liked Halloween. He hated the scary stuff, and he especially didn't like being bothered by the trick-or-treaters. So he would spend most Halloweens just reading in his apartment with the lights off. But this year was gonna be different. This year, I had a goal to be the person who got the most candy in all of New York. But the problem was, it was obvious that I wasn't a kid. You know who did look like a kid, though, was Stephen Grant Rogers. So I told him about my master plan, and he was obviously not about it at first. But after some convincing and bribing him with a promise that I would take him to the movies the next day, he was in. We came up with the quickest and easiest costume we could think of, which was a ghost. And people loved it. They thought Steve was so adorable. Every time they opened the door, they would be like, "Who's this cute little young man?" And I'd be like, "Oh, you know, that's just my son, Steven. He's really excited to trick or treat tonight." Yeah, he definitely hated that one. And then when we got back that night, he slept for 18 hours straight. He was exhausted. But we had gotten over 8,000 pieces of candy, so it was totally worth it. We should definitely do that again. Oh yeah? And how would that work? Steve's not so little anymore. Right, you're right. Webs, you're a genius. All right, come on, we gotta go. Okay. It's that time of year. I don't want a Christmas carol, Sam. It's not a Christmas carol. It's me requesting another Little Steve story. What? No, it's the holidays. I want a break. It's technically not the holidays until Santa comes down the chimney and we light the menorah. Well, we lit the menorah already. Hanukkah was at the beginning of the month. Bucky, you should be extra nice considering it's the holidays. What if Santa puts you on the naughty list? Don't tug at my childhood guilt like that. The naughty list. Okay, fine. I have a Little Steve story. Finally. So, it was the holidays. Steve and I were going to Macy's to shop for my sister. I really was hoping to get her a nice necklace that year, and so we were looking in the jewelry cases. Well, I guess I had my back turned for too long trying to make a decision, because when I turned to get Steve's opinion, he was gone. I was getting frustrated because, of course, even during the holidays, he had to go and try to enlist. So I walked down to the enlistment office at the mall, but Steve wasn't there. And so now I started to panic because I actually have lost him this time. So I started to run through the mall calling his name. I finally got to this one floor and just stopped to catch my breath, and I was just ready to give up at that point. But then out of the corner of my eye, I spotted him. Steve had walked all the way through the mall to find Santa and ask him to help us pick which necklace was better. No way. Yes way, I'm serious. There's pictures somewhere. I used to have a little wallet-sized one that I carried around, but lost it during the war. Best Little Steve story yet.